Hi guys, my name's Kelly-Jace and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. Feel free to check out some of my other videos on how to save for a mortgage in 2 years and how to be happy. So today we're going to be talking about anxiety, which was requested by one of our Facebook group members. Our Facebook group is called Maximise Your Life. Our Instagram is Maximise Your Life and our Twitter is Maximise_life. So feel free to kind of join in the conversation and request any videos you want to see. I would like to disclose that I am not a mental health professional, I am not a GP, and I'm not a psychologist. These are kind of my opinions and the things that I do to balance my own anxiety. So, and I'm wearing a coat because this workshop is freezing, so just ignore that really. I'm going to explain what anxiety is and what it does to your body. So anxiety is when you have a feeling of fear or stress, it triggers a hormone in your body called cortisol. Now what cortisol is, it's your fight or flight response to situations. So let's say back in the day when we were having to defend ourselves from wild animals and other villagers, you would have that ability to make a conscious decision of whether you want to run from that situation or fight that situation. We don't really have those same extreme dangers we have now, but our body still responds in that way. So when your body releases that cortisol, that gives you more anxiety, and then your body releases more cortisol. So elevated levels of cortisol in your body can actually trigger other issues, other problems in your body. So for example, having heightened cortisol levels can affect your weight and how you put on weight or how you lose weight. It can also affect your ability to learn or absorb information. So if you're trying to study something or you're trying to do daily tasks, it will have an effect on that. It also has an effect on your immune system. It has an effect on your blood pressure. It has the ability to trigger other mental health issues. And it just makes you weaker in general. So anxiety attacks one of our basic human needs, and that human need is the feeling of security, a sense of security and certainty. If security and certainty is something that we crave and we need as humans, then anything that threatens that certainty is going to trigger that chemical and trigger that fight or flight response. So your body's releasing cortisol, you're getting anxious. Your body then, as a reaction for that, releases more cortisol, which makes you more anxious. So what happens when you are getting anxious, releasing more cortisol, and you're spiraling? That ends up in a panic attack, doesn't it? And you can't control that, and you get to a point where you're feeling suffocated. You feel like you're struggling with situations or issues that you can't control. So because we have no outlet for this, so as I mentioned before, like in the olden world, outlets for this would be, for example, if you had a villager come to your village and try and take your meat or your gold, or you'd be able to fight and defend yourself and release that cortisol in that kind of defense for your village. Or being chased by some buffalo, I don't know, you'd have that released by running and getting away, and that freedom will lower your release of cortisol. So we don't have that kind of extremities in life. We're not running from buffalo. We're not, we are protecting our villages, but we don't have that extreme situation. So we don't really have an outlet for our elevated levels of cortisol. If we don't have an outlet for those levels of cortisol, then we're becoming a giant human pressure cooker. And the more that cortisol rises and we have no outlet, what happens? You have a breakdown, you crack, you explode. So some of the basic advice or tips I can give, and I think this is across the board, is to balance out that cortisol release. The kind of, for lack of a better explanation, the antidote for that is endorphins. endorphins come from exercise, daily exercise. So if you are finding yourself getting over anxious or struggling with that response to your security being challenged or your certainty being challenged, then you're doing daily exercise is going to really balance out the levels of cortisol with the endorphins. Another thing is when you're consuming coffee. I don't consume coffee or alcohol anymore because I get quite anxious myself. When you're consuming coffee or alcohol or like carbohydrates, sugars, these kind of things are going to be adding fuel to the fire that is the cortisol. The things that you really need to be taken to kind of lower those levels of cortisol are dark chocolate, blueberries, pulses, grains, whole wheats like brown rice. These are kind of things that are going to neutralise the levels of cortisol in your body as well as exercise. Other things that can calm your levels of anxiety are herbal teas, so especially things like chamomile tea. Leafy greens have a vitamin in them that calms down the cortisol. So these are all the kind of foods and diet that you can be taking to alleviate anxiety. Now, for me, I've already changed my diet, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Constantly trying to figure out how to fit in exercise into my daily routine is not always the easiest thing. So I personally can't always adapt my life to handle my anxiety. So I will find different ways of doing that. And that different way that I have is by writing a chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the camera over onto the screen and kind of show you how to write a chart to weigh up the pros and cons and alleviate anxiety in regards to certain situations. So if you can actually identify an issue that's a particular issue that's causing you anxiety, this is exactly what I do to kind of balance it out and then figure out if it's a situation that I can address or I can attack, or if it's a situation that I need to cancel and find a different solution for it. So it's that fight or flight. It's literally the logic way how to figure out fight or flight without actually fighting or physically running. So let's switch over. Okay, so we are on a Word document and I'm going to show you how I tackle my anxieties over specific issues. So we're going to use one specific issue that's been given to me, and it is having to take the kids to school again. Having to take the kids to school again. So I like to centralise my headings. This to me really gets out some of the stresses that I have because I'm so busy trying to organise my table, my positives and negatives. So I put this heading 16. Yeah, 16 will be fine. Make it bold, underline it. You know, do what you want. Do what makes you feel comfortable. Let me throw in some exclamation marks there. This is my problem. So you put your problem, whatever your problem is, on the top there, underlined, bold, exclamation marks. This is my problem. Underneath, we are going to insert a table, a 2 by however many you want. I do 2 by 8. You can add more, take away some, it doesn't matter. So let's go back to the home. In the top part, we're going to write positive, and in this part, we're going to write negative. So I always start with the negatives because I find that once I say them out loud and type them down, it feels like I am taking them out of my chest and put them on paper. So it kind of, that in itself alleviates a little bit of that stress. So what's my first negative? Having to take the kids to school again. My first negative is that they can get sick. So fear of child getting sick. You can word it how you want. You can just write sick. You can write the whole sentence. For me, it's easier just to navigate with my eyes. You know, fewer words. Fear of child getting sick. Another fear I have is maybe the fear of child being behind the other students academically. Maybe the other students have had more guidance, or maybe the other students have had more screen time with the teacher, following all of their curriculum. Another fear that you might have is maybe you failed, maybe you didn't do a good enough job, maybe you couldn't because of your work commitments, because of your housework commitments. So fear of failure and a fear of other people noticing that failure. I'm just going to throw in something there, that all of these fears, every single parent has the exact same fears as you. These things, fear of a child getting sick, everyone's going to feel that. A fear of the child being behind in their classwork. Every single child is going to be at a different level of commitment to what the homeschooling. Some kids have just chilled out, some kids have done all of it, some kids have not done enough of it. Every child will be in a different level, and it's not a positive. It's not a fault. No one's done anything wrong. A fear of failure. These are the things that we feel every single day. Have I done enough? Maybe I could have spent more time sitting with the child, doing their activities instead of having to do work. But you've got your commitments. You have to bring in money. So these are the fears. These are off my chest now. They're written down. If you have any more or any other fears, write them down. As long as they're all different from each other and you're not getting too samey. You need separate different fears or separate different negatives. Moving on to our positives. A positive reason. So having to take the kids to school again. What's a positive? I get to walk a little bit. I get to walk and stretch. Another positive is your child gets to catch up, go back to school. So child gets education again, a full proper education. Your child also gets to socialise. What the child's been craving, other kids to interact with, you know. What other positives do you have? So there's more space and more activities to play with, so more fun, more activities. Now you can also be a little selfish and say things like, I get my time back, I get time alone. You could also say things like, I can achieve more things, I can get things done. Whether it achieve in your home life or in your work life, doesn't matter, you can achieve. Maybe no one's always eating on your food, so no one is eating constantly, saving you some money constantly. I'm having some spelling issues here. And you can go on, I can personally go on a few more of the positives. So you've written it down and you've tangibly seen that there's more positive than negatives. If you still aren't convinced, what I do with situations, so when you have this situation and you've got more negatives than positives, that's when I break down the negatives to a point of saying, well, -1, the fear of my child getting sick. Well, the child's going to be tested in school. I can test at home. If the child gets sick, it's not like life-threatening, so I can manage this, because you've been at home already, you know what it's like to look after the child, so you can manage this. These are the things that you can alleviate those negativities. So number 1 is for fear of the child getting sick. Does this make you feel better? That's what you need to say to yourself. Number 2, fear of the child being behind academically. Well, every child has a different parent. My spelling's right. Doesn't really matter really, but every child has a different parent, different digital electronics, and maybe not all the children have laptops. Maybe the children just haven't studied. Every child is going to be in a different situation. This is not an issue. The third one, fear of failure. So probably just the same as number 2. How can you have a fear of failure when everyone's in the same boat? You're not being judged. So this is irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So with that, I can cancel out fear of failure. That doesn't matter. Because everyone's in the same boat. I haven't failed. I've done my best. Fear of being behind. The kids are going to all go back to school with different levels. And children are adaptable. That's what the school is for. That's their job. This does not matter. Fear of child getting sick. If you are comfortable that your child's going to be tested, you're going to test at home, you're going to manage your child, you can't keep them wrapped up at home forever. And this is the only thing really that's going to be like the difference between you taking them back to school or you having that issue or anxiety still. If you are comfortable with knowing that I'm going to make every effort to make sure my child is tested, teach my children how to manage their hygiene, then this can also be eliminated. Once you've eliminated all your negatives and given actual tangible reasons for all your negatives and you have no more negatives, that anxiety should be gone. That anxiety should be over. So what I'd like to do is just switch back to the camera. So I'd like to really figure out what it is that makes you guys anxious and gives you guys issues. I also want to give you another example of a situation that maybe has more negatives than positives, and using that elimination technique to get rid of some of those negatives and cure the anxiety. What if you have a situation that has more negatives? What if you have a situation that your reasoning behind the negatives doesn't cancel each other out and you still are stuck with negatives? What do you do then? So I'd like to show you just one more Word document and let's see if we can find an issue that has more negatives than positives. So I've opened the Word document and I've just changed the heading. So another issue that you could be having during the pandemic is I have to go back to work in my office. So working from home, remote working could be over for some of us, and that might be something that's causing you anxiety. So I'm going to write down the negatives first, just to get those off my chest and cleanse my anxieties a little bit. So a negative, having to pay travel. I'm not used to having to pay travel. I've been working from home. You have to readjust your finances to accommodate that cost of travel. Another one could be facing people you haven't seen in a while. Facing people after not seeing them in such a long time, having to rebuild that, that unit of having to work together. You've been forced to be on your own or with your own family or with your own people. What's it going to be like having to go back into an environment with other people, having to accommodate for other people's needs and their personal spaces and all that kind of thing? So another negative could be, this is probably just me maybe, but have I put on weight? Will people notice? Have I changed? Will they notice? It's always difficult going away from work, for example, and coming back different. So you've had time off, you've been sick, maybe you've put on weight, maybe you've changed, and they're not going to see the graduation of change. They will just see you going when it started and coming back, and there's this big almost 12 month time lapse that they haven't really seen. So that fear of, have I changed? Will I notice? Will they say something? Will they comment? Am I even motivated to go back? Am I motivated to go back? Is it something you want to do? Are you accustomed to being working from home? This is one of my actual own issues, that if I ever get asked to go back into an office, it's like, am I motivated to go back into an office when I know I can do more at home, when I'm comfortable at home, when I get more done with the lack of distractions? Am I motivated? And then I am I comfortable? Do you not want the change? Am I comfortable? These are the kind of negatives, that I guess many of you will be facing if you have to go back to work into an office. I'm sure there could be more, there could be less. That's up to you. You can adapt that as you see fit. Now, I've got the negatives off my chest. Let's write a positive. So a positive could be maybe getting out and about, getting out, having that, stretching your legs, walking around. Actually, you've probably put on a little bit of the weight because you've been sitting on your sofa, walking from your bedroom to your lounge. Getting out, stretching your legs, that's a positive. Feeling part of a team. Maybe you feel like you've been isolated, you haven't really got a team, you're working alone, it's very isolating. So a positive is that going back into the teamwork environment. And then a positive could be, it might be good for your mental health, involving with people, bouncing off ideas. So your mental health. So this is a situation where you've got more negatives than positives. So can you cancel out having to pay travel? So having to pay travel, you've paid it before. You've obviously been in there before. If you were working your job before the COVID, so you used to pay the travel. So maybe whatever it is you are putting that money on that you pay travel to before, where's that money going? Is it going into savings? If it's not going to savings, then you're able to readjust your finances and put it back on travel. Number 2, facing people. Everyone is in the same boat. You'll find once you get back into the office or get back to your work environment, you're all going to be in the same boat. You're all going to be having a catch up. Oh my gosh, this happened to me. Talking so much. Everybody's going to want to share their story. If I changed, will they notice? So again, everybody will have changed. Everyone, my spelling's off today. Everyone will have changed. Everyone will have changed. So you're not the only person to have changed. Everybody all over Facebook, all your friends you've been talking to have been saying, I've put on a bit of weight, I'm not as active. On the other hand, you're going to have those people who have been out running every day, out doing this every day, and maybe they, being in their presence, will give you the motivation to get up and go running or to start making positive steps. So it depends on how many people you work with. But if it's only a few people, yeah, there's going to be no changes in everybody. There's going to be differences in people, and then you talk about it and you share. If you're in an office with hundreds of people, I guess they're not really going to notice that much. There's that many people. Am I motivated to go back? This is a thing. This is one of the questions I think a lot of people are going to be asking themselves. Are they motivated to go back? And at the end of the day, if you're not motivated, you need to find a new job. Or if you're brave or if you're confident, you need to ask your manager how to continue the way you're going, how to stay at home. At the end of the day, if you have been doing your work and committing to what you've been doing, there shouldn't really be that much of an issue about you going in. It's something at the end of the day you could ask, that you may not get it, but in majority, if you have a good case and a good strength behind what you're saying, ask them. Say, look, you know what, this is working for me. Can I stay working from home? Am I comfortable? Am I comfortable kind of ties in with the same kind of thing as am I motivated? Am I comfortable? If you are comfortable, as I said before, 4 and 5 is the same. Ask your manager, ask your employer, or now is the time to find a new job. Find a new job that is remote. So as you can see, these kind of things, am I comfortable? If I am comfortable, then I can go to my employer and ask. Or I can find a new job. This problem can be solved with those points. Am I motivated? Yet again, if I'm not motivated, then I can find a new job or ask my employer if it's okay to continue the way I'm going. Have I changed what I noticed? Well, everyone will have changed. We've solved that issue. You're all going to be together talking, saying, "Oh, you've changed. These are the things I've changed in my life." It's all going to be part of the initial conversation into getting back into an environment with different people. Number 2, facing people. Everybody is going to want to tell you their story. You probably won't even have enough time to panic and think. By the time you get into the office, everyone's going to be, "Oh, hi, it has been so long, let's catch up." This hasn't become an issue anymore. Having to pay travel. I think this is probably the only main issue for me personally. And that's really, if you have put the money into savings and you're not spending it on something different, you haven't replaced that cost with something else, then you can easily just put it back and continue the way you were going before the COVID. So this again doesn't become an issue. And even just doing this myself, I actually feel so unstressed, so without anxiety, because I've kind of rationalised everything else. Let's switch back over to the camera. So really what I'm trying to say is, just give this method a go. Just try it with a few different of the issues that you have in your life. Write it down, write your negatives first. Always write your negatives first, write your positives, and start to eliminate those negatives with rationale and reasoning. Once you've done that, if you don't feel even the slightest sense of relief from your anxiety, then please come back at me and I will give you another solution, because I find that really works with me. So on that note, please leave any comments down below, any questions, and please subscribe to my channel so that you can see more of my videos that are coming up soon. Hopefully tomorrow I should be doing the unboxing of the exercise hula hoop. Subscribe, like my videos, and I really hope this helped. Thanks for watching. Maximise your life, guys.